This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids.
What up, everybody? This is your boy Blak Magus, and in this old gamers rant, we're going to talk about indies. We're going to have another conversation about indies. I've talked about this before, mostly in stream, so you guys may not have heard it here on YouTube, but I like to always mention indies and give them a shout out and discuss them because in the current gaming landscape, we're kind of shitting on that whole genre. We look at indies as something that is a bad thing, which I 100% do not understand. And I was just having this conversation with my boy where, we were talking about the current state of gaming and how gamers tend to view things. And, um, it's pretty bad. It is very, very bad. Because if you go back in the day, um, part of the reason gaming has gotten to where it is, and part of the reason why a lot of these franchises and studios that we know very well are around and producing AAA games even is because at some point in time they started off small. It's kind of like looking at, say, music. Your favorite music artist wasn't always this big hit. He wasn't always this well-known rapper, or they weren't always this big pop band, or whatever genre you listen to. Probably one of your favorite people weren't that huge. And even some of your favorite people now aren't that big, but they're growing. Part of the reason being is because people are starting to pay attention, word of mouth is carrying, and eventually they get a shot at the big time and they become bigger. That's how things happen. I'm saying with actors, they get their big break, what have you. Gaming is no different. It's no different than any other entertainment media. Going back to, say, a company like Konami. People don't realize Konami. Now, mind you, this might not be the best example because of where they're going now and how they're treating the gaming industry. But they would have never got to a point where we cared about how much they're fucking up now had it not been for them going through the motions of being a small Atari. Yes, they developed for Atari and ColecoVision. They had some off-brand games, and they kept plugging away. Nintendo era came, and they were able to take some of their arcade hits like Castlevania, Contra, translate them to the console, and they, had a lot of success. That success led them to, give people opportunities. Like there was this little-known development team member named Hideo Kojima who worked hard on stuff like Castlevania and Contra and all the other translations. And he stepped to, the bosses and asked for a chance to make this game that he had an idea for. This little small game that he called Metal Gear, which wasn't the biggest success on the Nintendo Entertainment System, but it gained a cult following enough to where Konami was like, okay, we're going to let you do a second one. And that, continued the cult following until years later after, it disappeared for a couple of consoles, for the most part. And when the PlayStation came out, Kojima stepped in the ring and again was like, now I can take this idea that I had and expand on it. And let me show you what I could do now with it, with this new technology, using CD media and all of that, and the sound and video quality that it's able to produce. And Konami looked at this and was like, yo, okay, take a shot. Again, boom, Metal Gear's franchise was, put to the level that it is now. Kojima is now considered a legend in gaming. But none of this would have happened if a company that was a nobody didn't keep going, didn't keep making those small games, and finally got recognition for their stuff because people gave that stuff a chance, and they were able to grow until they were able to produce someone like Kojima and something like the Metal Gear franchise. This is why indies are important. This is why we should not poo-poo them. This is why you should actually pay attention and maybe give them a chance, because a lot of the biggest franchise, I mean, hell, nobody would have gave Mario a chance. Do we really think that people would care that much about that fucking character? No. But you had to give it a chance because Mario wasn't always a big thing. You know, Nintendo wasn't always a big thing until their arcade games started to gain popularity, and then they came out with the console, and that blew up, and things like that. Even big companies that had a name, like Sony, they weren't necessarily big in gaming, and they tried to get their foot in the door with Nintendo. Nintendo was like, "Nah, we're good. We're gonna go a different direction." So Sony's like, "You know what? Let's take our idea, and let's take a chance, and make a console." Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft had already been big in software, in particular PC gaming. They had MSN Gaming Zone. They had some big PC franchises, but they took a leap with the console thing. And again, if nobody gave it a shot, you would never know. So, that's how I look at indie games. Whether it's from a known studio like a Child of Light from a Ubisoft, or unknown studios that come up with these small games like Mercenary Games, Hyper Life Drifter, and things like that, which are really, really good games. You need these smaller, unknown franchises, these risk takers, to jump out there and throw something out, because you don't get the Rainbow Sixes just by throwing it out there with just the name. The name alone isn't going to help. Sure, the name sometimes is a big thing because we like to be told what we think should be cool. And that's a thing I think is another problem, is that the name muddles a lot of stuff. Like the fact that Rockstar can put out a game of any kind and probably get attention. It's cool and it's not so cool because we're all just following, oh, well, it's Rockstar, so it must be good. And we're not necessarily looking at the game on an individual level. That being said, we look at these smaller games and we're just dumping on them because they're smaller, because we don't know who they are and where these people came from. And it's like, why don't you just look at the game itself? That's what we used to do, in my opinion. We just looked at the franchise and been like, you know what? This game looks cool, interesting. Let me see what it's about. Boom, if it's good, we got a hit. The Hotline Miami's, the Inside, all of those. You gotta take a chance on them. That's the thing. People need to start taking more chances. And when you start complaining about there's nothing new, there's nothing different, nobody's taking risks, everything's the same, look to the indies and realize that you're pretty much passing over things that could help flesh out the industry, because they're taking chances and risks and coming up with something new. And then when you see these new franchises from bigger companies that are being made by unknown developers, give them a look. Stop just waiting for them to make the next Battlefield or the next Call of Duty or the next name that you already know, and take a look. It might be worth it. Hey, not everything's gonna be good, but that is pretty much the way things go. It's risk reward. You can't just rely on, again, being told what's good by the company, or just waiting for someone to dictate to you what's good or not. You should take those risks. Take a chance. You might find something that you really enjoy, and who knows, you may be one of the first people on the ground floor of the next Metal Gear, of the next Diablo, of the next God of War, or what have you. because you took a chance and you just wanted to see what this new thing is and didn't hold it down, didn't ignore it because of its size, its scope, or who's making it or where it comes from. You wanted to find something new to experience and hopefully find something that you enjoyed, and you went ahead and you took a shot at it. And that's what I feel like we used to really do back in the day, and that's something that needs to return to the gaming mentality. Stop with this whole if it doesn't fit this certain slot, I can't fuck with it. Expand your horizons, please. It's good for you as a gamer, and more importantly, it's great for the industry, because why should anybody take any risk, try anything different, if we're all just ignoring anything that's a risk or that's different? You know what I mean? Giving them incentive to continue to pass down the same shit over and over and over again. But that's just how I look at it. Anyway, as always, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Blak Magus, and I'm out, y'all. Deuces.